So like Jason has whatever the brand most new iPhone is, and it takes like amazing photos.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting us off track.
That's all right.
Let's pretend we're just starting now.
That's kind of our MO. And we're live.
And we're live.
Okay, so I'm Jeremy.
I'm Yana.
And this is Joined at the Unhip. And today we have our first ever guest.
A very special guest here in the studio.
That's right.
AKA our basement.
This is so professional.
Nobody knows it's a basement. Leave that out of it.
This, I mean, I would have believed that it was a studio.
Well, that's very nice of you.
Yeah.
This is our friend Melissa. She's amazing.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm amazing.
Quite some time. And one of the reasons we invited her on, aside from the fact that she's amazing and a close friend of ours, is that I noticed online that she is a big Matrix fan, and we're here to talk about The Matrix Resurrections. Just barely got through that. It's really hard to remember which is which.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
We're going to review that movie that Yana and I watched just a few hours ago for the first time.
Oh
boy, and she was loving it. Look at that expression. I think we're going to have differing levels of opinion here.
Yeah.
I'm very interested
so.
to hear what you have to say
Well, we all
about
have different.
The Matrix.
Yeah.
We all have very different experiences, I think, with the franchise.
True.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you guys to go through, like, what your... I mean, I kind of know Yana's experience with it because I just sat through it the last few days.
Yeah.
But I like to, like, just your franchise up until this movie, your impression of the franchise or idea of it, your opinion of it, up to this point, up to this movie.
Should we start with me or Melanie?
Yeah, no, I want to hear. I really want to hear what you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll start with the bad news and then good news.
I saw the first Matrix movie when it first came out, and I mean, like everyone, I thought the effects were very cool, the people in the air, and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, okay, it's an action movie, and it's like an interesting idea, but whatever. And then I watched the second one just because I had seen the first one, and I was like, okay.
And
I did not see the third one because I did not give a shit about anything that was happening to these people. And so I watched all of them now at Jeremy's suggestion. We rewatched the first and second, and I watched the third one, and then we watched the most recent one.
Did you go to the movies or?
No, we just watched it
at home.
We
On
watched it
HBO.
at home, and I was cuddled up under a blanket, and it's a great movie
Did you fall asleep?
to nap to. I
was
went
like-
to sleep real
It was
bad.
like sleep training a baby. I was like, you gotta stay awake. We gotta talk about this later.
Oh no.
And I was like,
But you
I'm
know
awake.
what? Yeah.
He's going back in the pod. I know what's happening.
Yeah. Like if you fall asleep, that's the review.
I mean,
I fell asleep and that's what I thought
Right.
of it.
I mean, my worry... See, this might have been unfounded, but my worry at a time was like, oh, this new one, it's the fourth in the series, and Yana's going to be, like, lost if she doesn't see the series up to that point.
Yeah.
And then now I'm realizing that, like, maybe doing...
Marathon.
maybe waterboarding Yana with Matrix movies ahead of this one was not a great experience.
It was a
before.
lot of
Yeah.
Matrix.
I think you
But-
could have just seen
You like
the
OD
new one,
on Matrix.
and that
Yeah,
would have been
probably.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there was plenty of flashbacks and like just
Yeah.
they sort of explained what happened in the previous movies, so like I feel like that's probably
Also, everyone knows the gist of the Matrix,
yeah.
but not young people. They don't know.
No, I tried to talk to Adrian about watching it, and they were just like, I don't care. It's just some dumb action movie that
Even like
Dad's like.
even like Jason's age.
Oh,
I think,
really?
Yes. Yeah. Seriously.
Okay.
There was like a time where I was in a college class like a couple of years ago.
Jason is her husband.
Jason is my husband. I was in class in college a couple of years ago, and so let's say if I was 30, that the students were like 20, 21, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, The Matrix came up. Obviously, the professor had seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said some comment of like, well, everybody, whatever. And the professor was like, I don't think that's true. I'm getting a lot of looks here of like dumbfounded. And he did a poll of like who has seen it. No one in the room but me had seen the fucking
Weird.
Matrix.
Really?
I was like, what the fuck?
We are so our parents.
It
now.
was so
We so are.
iconic when it came out.
It was so iconic. That was
everybody
shocking.
knew. I feel like everybody knew the most iconic scenes because after The Matrix, literally every other movie and cartoon afterwards ripped off the hovering in the air thing. Shrek ripped off the hovering in the air thing.
Yeah, like the parodies of it.
That was a parody of The Matrix, though. It wasn't a rip.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, they, like, alluded to that scene. No one was trying to pull it off as their own thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you mean it was parody?
I
Like
misspoke.
it
was
was
very...
parody like a motherfucker.
It was parodied
SNL
like,
did everything.
Right, so like everybody at least knew those scenes.
yeah, and they were in the trailers.
It's come out of the consciousness of culture now, and people truly don't like under a certain age.
And,
I would say under 30. Like
Really?
right now, under 30, people have no idea. They haven't seen it. They've heard of the new one now because there's been so much publicity.
It's probably going to be that thing where kids watch it. If you show a kid The Matrix, they're going to be like, I've seen so many movies like this now. This is not interesting to me. Because
but they don't understand the bullet time.
This was the first one.
Yeah.
Like, I remember hearing a story of a guy watching Apocalypse Now, and there's the scene in that movie where the helicopters are coming in to attack, and they're playing the Ride of the Valkyries, and him being like, "This is so corny. This is so cheesy." And it's like, well, yeah, because at the time it was revolutionary, and so many movies have copied that since then. When you go back and watch the original, it's like cheesy and has been at that point, and it's probably the same thing with The Matrix, I would imagine. So So what's your deal with The Matrix?
Oh, okay. So so I watched it when I was a kid when it first came out. My whole family went to the theaters.
Really?
My entire family went to the theaters.
Wow.
And also, very fucking painful moment. I don't know if do you remember how the second one starts? Did you just rewatch the second one too?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the second one starts with like that fucking like huge sex scene.
Oh,
and they're like it's like the big dance party, and everyone is like licking each other and shit.
Yeah, it's like a weird orgy.
Yeah, it's like a weird orgy.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when it first came out, and I was like, what?
Yeah, well, I was sitting like between like my mom and my younger brother. At the fucking movie theater, and it was like it would not end. Like that scene would not fucking stop, and that was So anyway, my whole family, we fucking loved The Matrix. Like The Matrix was like a part of our family. Like we watched it so much.
That's awesome.
We had a family joke. Because my mom is like a total clean freak. We had a family joke that like when Neo's like dodging the bullets, that was my mom like catching things like that we were like throwing around the house. Like we fucking loved The Matrix in my house. We were so all about it.
That's awesome.
And yeah, when I find out that young people have not seen or heard of The Matrix, I immediately get like old lady angry. I'm like, how dare you?
You're like, you don't even know.
I'm like, you don't even know. Revolutionary. It had bullet time. It changed a lot about movies. Like, exactly.
Well, I'm just now remembering. I had a similar experience as a child with my mom, who in 1995 they had just re-released Star Wars on VHS tapes. It was like a black box set, and the tapes had like an interview with George Lucas at the beginning of them. And we were in the store, and my mom was like, are you into Star Wars? Like, because it was like a new display, and I was like, I don't know what that is. And my mom was like, are you kidding me?
You don't know what Star Wars?
And she was like, all right.
I'm going to show you what Star Wars is.
And then she bought the first tape and showed it to me, and it had an effect. So like, yeah.
How old were you?
I was 10.
It's perfect age to
get
Star Wars.
It's perfect age to get Star Wars.
Yeah.
Obviously, and it sort of took hold in my brain, and now I'm like a huge Star Wars dork. But like, that isn't always the experience with kids. But I just now I'm realizing that at that time Star Wars was only like 18 years old, and The Matrix is now 22, 23 years old.
That's nuts.
Came out in 1999. So yeah, this year it'll be 23 years old, which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my experience with The Matrix is I didn't see it was in theaters. There was one kid in my school who was super into it, and he was like kind of a weird kid. I mean, he was like, every school has
he tried to dress as Neo.
Everyone has like that weird kid that's like into ninja stars and shit.
Yes, absolutely.
And like he was like that kid, and everyone was just like, okay, weird. And he was I mean, it kind of put me off the movie. And then it came out on DVD.
You're like, I don't want to watch it because that fucking freak likes
it. When I went to school, like, you see the kids that were in you see the kids that are influenced by the style of it.
They're a little too into...
Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, you're inside. Take off the sunglasses.
Can I just say, after watching all of these movies in such close succession, by the end of the very last movie... I was done. I wanted to yell at every single character. Take off your fucking sunglasses. Just take them off. Why are you constantly wearing sunglasses? You're inside and it's dark.
You're in a dark nightclub.
Just take
the sunglasses are cool not for function. They're for cool.
Lawrence Fishburne with his cool nose pinchy sunglasses.
It's amazing.
They're all like very interesting shapes. They look. I get it. It's like an aesthetic choice.
She's over it.
It was
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of sunglasses.
your
It
mom
was like a
mode.
little too much.
I totally disagree. Love the sunglasses. Even
Too
when I
much.
saw them, so like when the new movie started and then the cool sunglasses thing. Yes, we're doing it, baby.
Even more sunglasses in this one.
I was like, because I feel like from the first Matrix, the when they all walk out together, back into the Matrix, and they all look fucking amazing, and they're all black, whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, they're here to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And that makes it cool.
I mean,
And so when I saw them in the new one with their sunglasses, I was like, here we go,
I mean, I
bitch.
feel like it's been like a universal cultural signifier since like maybe the 40s or the 50s that like sunglasses equals badass. And
Yeah.
that still has not changed.
Have you
really.
ever worn sunglasses?
To look cool?
No, like
All the time,
inside
since
or
I was,
when
like,
the
5.
light is dim.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure accidentally I've walked.
Well,
It's extremely dark. You can't see anything.
So hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. So what you're saying is that
Yeah.
when you wear glasses designed to block out the light and there's not that much light to
They
begin
work.
with, the room is
Yeah,
dark.
right there.
Is that what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saying?
Exactly.
I was just confirming.
Exactly what I'm
So
saying.
anyway, my experience with The Matrix is
Yeah.
I didn't see it when it first came out in theaters. A neighbor had it on DVD and I borrowed it from him. I was like, I had just got a DVD players were new at the time, and I borrowed it along with a bunch of other movies, and it kind of like the movie like kind of melted my brain. I was telling Yana this. I was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich while I was watching it, and then the scene came where he like was in the pod
Ooh.
for the first time.
When
and I was
he's
like,
covered in KY jelly.
I was not expecting.
Yeah.
Like you see, I don't think in any of the ads for the original Matrix movie they showed any of the real world shit.
Mhm.
So when it went from like the slick like
Oh no, I
sunglasses-
wouldn't think they would, because that needs to be like a big reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it became like kind of gross, I was like, ooh, this is
Yeah.
surprising. And that's kind of like where that's one of the reasons I thought the movie was like rated R, because I was like the scene of like all the tubes bursting out of his
Right.
body.
Yeah, that
I was like,
like,
that's like grotesque
No, I mean the idea behind
and kind
the
of awesome.
Matrix,
Mhm.
behind
Really cool.
like the first one, is very cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very interesting. What if the entire world has been a lie,
I remember thinking about that
and
when I
like
was a little kid.
there's something
Mhm.
else.
I remember
It's
having
really
like a weird
dark.
fantasy when I was very little,
Mhm.
when I was like in first or second grade, being like, what if I'm like, none of this is real and I'm like laying in a bed somewhere and it's just all in my head. I
Yeah.
remember having,
yeah.
I think that's like a
Yeah.
universal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like,
Yeah.
what if this is all a dream?
Yeah.
oh, like
Yeah.
to this day, I get like it's called intrusive thoughts, just
Right.
Yeah.
therapy.
Fun time.
But no, seriously, like that like you get like a sudden like, wait a minute, am I really here? Feeling like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why it was smart where they incorporated like deja vu and other feelings of. So
Yeah, that was brilliant.
I thought I thought the first movie was amazing. I was like
Mhm.
incredibly psyched for the second one. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
it came out 3 years after the first one, or 4 years after the first one, which is like an eternity for a sequel by today's standards. We've had an entire Spider-Man
How long was
trilogy.
it? 3 years?
4 years.
4
It was
years?
from
between the
99 to
first and the second?
2003. Yeah.
Jesus. That's
Yeah.
forever.
So
Yeah.
it came out the summer
I didn't know that.
after my senior year of high school, and I was like, I spent that whole like
Mhm.
spring getting psyched up for it. Like I was working at a movie theater, and I was
Pining for the Matrix.
and if I was bored, I would
Yeah.
deliberately go into the theater where I know they were about to play a trailer for it in front of like another. Because this
Yeah.
was before you could like
Yeah.
easily
couldn't just-
stream video.
Couldn't just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember, this is extremely nerdy, but there was a weird, there's a series of animated short movies called The Animatrix that came out, and it was like a bunch of side stories about the Matrix, and one of them was like this really cool all CGI like short film
Mhm.
called The Flight of the Osiris, and they played it in front of the movie Dreamcatcher, the Stephen King movie,
Oh.
as a way of, I guess, getting people to go see it. Like
Uh-huh.
it was kind of like showing
Yeah.
a cartoon before an old movie. They would show this short
Yeah.
film, and I would occasionally go in there and watch it because it was
And
really
then
cool.
they also played a newsreel about the war and how we
The
were
war in
really
Iraq.
sticking
And-
it to the
And how we
Germans.
all have to do our part.
That's right.
During the Bush administration,
Turn in
if you
your
wanna
scrap
feel old
metal.
about it, during Bush's first
Ration
term,
your butter and your sugar. It'll be a selfish asshole.
it's just Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah.
And then I remember liking the movie, and I was kind of baffled by it. Everyone seemed to hate it. It seemed very divisive, and I was like, it's the same. It's people talking in like weird philosophical circles and then getting into like
Right.
slow-mo
Yeah.
kung fu fights.
Right.
And like the CGI is a little wonky, and especially by today's standards, it definitely is.
On the second one, they go very heavy
Mm-hmm.
on like the
Replacing people with
very
CGI.
on the very
It's too much.
choreographed fights
Mm-hmm.
set to like cool club music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
It was a little much. I like the look of that.
Uh-huh.
I could do with like 1 or 2 of those in a movie, not necessarily 3 or 4, which is what
Yeah.
the
Well,
movie
I think-
had.
I
It also doesn't hold up. It doesn't.
Yeah,
like the first one
like,
really
okay.
fucking holds up. Like,
There's
in
a
terms of
very
the special
clear-
effects.
there's a
Yeah,
very
but in the
clear
second one,
difference.
it's very choreographed.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Yeah, and the
okay.
second one, like it's they were like that. Oh, people love that.
Yeah,
let's do
do
100
more.
fucking
It
times
was
that,
very-
and
yeah.
it was just way too much.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of times you'll watch a sequel to a movie that was like a surprise success,
Mhm.
and a lot of times I can't stand it when you can tell they leaned so hard into like,
the
fan
good
favorite.
thing.
Right, yeah.
I couldn't really stand Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for that reason.
Yeah.
I feel like they went really hard on like, everyone loved Baby Groot and like the end
So the
credits.
whole opener was
And I was just like, come on,
Yeah.
man, just rein it in a little bit. And yeah, the second Matrix
Right.
was like, okay, we're gonna make every frame of this movie as green as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And there's going to be like lots of slow mo shots. Well, see, the thing about the first one is they had actually like kind of a low budget for a movie like that,
Mhm.
so they had to come up with like these sort of interesting techniques. Like all the rotating shots were filmed. They were like actual people on a stage where they took a bunch of still photos on this big rig.
Oh.
They took a bunch of simultaneous photos in the middle of like an action scene, and then when
Huh.
they played them in sequence,
Yeah.
it looked like this camera was rotating around.
Oh.
And in the second and third movie, they had such an enormous budget.
They just went computer.
They just replaced everything with CGI. And
Yeah.
as Gianna said, as
You
we were
could
watching
tell.
the second
You
the other
could
day, she was like,
tell.
these look like Shrek characters.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's
It
the
doesn't
perfect.
hold
Because it's early CGI. I'm
It's the
sure at the
perfect-
time it was
Right.
like, oh, amazing, and no one could tell
No,
the
I think
difference.
even-
but-
No, even at the time.
Even at the
Oh,
time,
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Even at the time, I remember that like
you were
across
like,
the
that's not a
board.
real guy.
Yeah, no, like across the board, everyone was kind of like disappointed because what made the first one so special is that it didn't rely so heavily on that. So
Yeah.
it felt more real. It looked more real. They were experimenting way too much with the CGI in the second one.
Yeah.
And it just, the first one was like, I don't know if you noticed this between the fourth one, the new one, because they had so many cut scenes of the first one in it. But the first one, as I started seeing it play out in those cut scenes or whatever in the background of the fourth one, I really was like, damn, that was so beautifully shot. Like, it was aesthetically really fucking beautiful. And I didn't think any of the other ones had that.
No, they were like really just green and muddled.
Yeah.
I feel like
There was some cool shots, and in particular, I kind of like how the real world looked in juxtaposition to the Matrix. Where it was
Right.
like the Matrix is all slick, it's all sheen, and the
Right.
real world is they're clearly wearing like hand knit clothes, and everything is like scrap metal
Everything
and
is
in
rough.
caves.
Yeah.
But the actual Matrix itself also looked very like colorless a lot of the times, and I don't know. We had this week, I don't know. Even at the time they were divisive, but I sort of like enjoyed things about the second and third one, and
There's a lot. I mean,
I didn't hate them the way a lot of people did. I listen to some of the music from those movies still because it's like if I'm trying to get work done and I want to listen to something that doesn't have lyrics in it, I listen to like anything with like a lot of thumping in it and shit like that. And not like the techno ones, but like the score I think is really cool.
Yeah, the score is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dork for orchestral music. Yana,
Same.
For my birthday in a few weeks, Yana is taking me to a concert of John Williams music.
I'm going to that too.
Really?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
At the Strand.
Because he's one of my favorites. Yeah, I did Hook, which is my favorite movie of all time. Hook.
Yeah, I was very excited about that.
It's
I
so
will
good
bet
at the
you all
Strand,
$50 they're gonna open up with Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
or Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
People
Jurassic
love
Park.
the Jurassic Park theme.
I think they're gonna go.
It's
with
really
Star Wars.
good.
I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really
all
good.
fantastic.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
everything he does is fantastic.
Oh,
like,
the music is amazing.
I mean,
it's so funny.
it's so funny.
Jason got me those tickets for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
So we've all
Sorry,
given
I
our.
interrupted you.
No, it's fine.
No,
That's how we do.
Yeah, so
So-
I love
so-
the score.
two things. So first of all, going back to the effects, I thought the effects in the first one were actually really good. Like when his mouth grows closed and when they
Yeah,
put the
that
bug
was
in
really
his belly
good.
button. I thought that looked really good. Even now, 23
holds
years
up.
later or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
yeah.
You can watch the line be crossed from the first into the second and third movies, or just between the first and the second, I guess, is like from between being on like kind of a low budget sci-fi movie and being in like the time when practical effects were still heavily in use to like we have a ton of budget, let's just do all that shit in CGI.
Yeah.
And that is a harsh line to cross when you go from one movie to the next movie. Like,
I know how much you love practical effects.
well, it's not that I love practical
I
effects,
do
it's
too.
that they should
Yeah.
be used as much as they're like feasible to be used.
Right.
Because like
If you really truly cannot do it, then go
yeah,
to
like
CGI.
for me,
but,
watching like the Neo versus the 100 Agent Smith fight
yeah.
is like it wasn't the CGI that I minded so much, is that like when it would cut from a CGI shot to them fighting, I was like, ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, it was
like,
very noticeable.
like it's just like you went from like a Tron character to like dudes beating each other for real.
No,
like,
but I like did mind the CGI. Like I just thought it was terrible. It was a terrible idea.
Yeah, and
I didn't care for it at all.
In particular, where he's fighting
so
like
bad.
they hold the shots for way too long is the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you can get away with that. Like the Lord of the Rings movies do a good job of that because they're from around the same time.
Yeah.
Because it'll be like from a long ways away.
Uh-huh.
It'll be like we had to put CGI characters in there because it's like Legolas doing some crazy shit. But it's like in the distance and the shots are very quick and they snap and they cut back to like a practical shot.
Uh-huh.
Whereas in this, it's like a 10-second tracking shot, like
Right.
following Neo in slow motion and panning right past his horrible Uncanny Valley face.
Yeah, so
And,
your
like,
brain has time
yeah.
to register.
Not Uncanny Valley
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like the scene where he punches Agent Smith in the face in slow motion in the third one, that was just like, you're just flexing your like
Yeah.
CGI muscle and it looks really stupid.
Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Doesn't mean we should. But so what you said about like in the first couple of movies where the Matrix itself, the city of the Matrix was like very gray and like depressing looking. I feel like I had this thought when I initially watched these movies and I couldn't stop having this thought now. Why wouldn't they make the Matrix a happy place?
They explained
like,
that in the first movie.
Do they?
Yeah.
What is
they
the
tried to make
explanation,
it. They
please?
tried to make it a utopia, and the human mind rejected it because the human mind can't handle perfection.
Sure,
Right.
don't make it perfect, but don't make it so fucking bleak either.
But even
Like,
in this new one, they have like an explanation. For
Like
that.
my life is not perfect,
I
but
feel
if
like-
I found out that my life was a simulation, I feel like I would kind of be like, okay, like that's all
they were
right.
talking
I'll
about
stay in it.
They were talking about that on the Always Sunny podcast where
I don't know.
Charlie was like,
okay, I guess I'll stay here. See, but then I would completely reject it and go insane.
Really?
Yeah. I would 1,000%.
Just
I
start
wouldn't
looking
be
for the
like, all right,
scenes.
that's fine. I would be like, I reject this immediately
Yeah.
and I need to crawl out of
You
here.
would have to take the red pill.
I'd rather die
Just
than
like-
stay in it now that I know that it's...
I'm not sure.
I honestly like would not be surprised if you showed me how I would behave in a situation if I went full like Cypher in the first movie where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this sucks, dude. I don't want to be out here. I'm
I
going
want to
back
go
in.
back.
No, now I always did respect that feeling.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, that
And-
tracks.
Yeah, and like what a perfect cast he was too for that role.
Joey Pants.
Joey
He
Pants.
fucking nailed that. But
Yeah.
you do have a feeling watching him in that in that role that you're like, maybe I'm not far off
Yeah.
from that.
I don't
Like,
Maybe
like,
that I would have gotten out and then
Right.
been like, yeah, fuck the gruel.
the sheer
fuck the like
Yeah.
holes in
curiosity.
my
I
sweatshirt.
think
It's
the
like,
food would be the big
Yeah. The
push.
sheer
Yeah.
curiosity.
Yeah, the
was-
I want a goddamn
The food alone.
sandwich. I will settle for anything
Yeah.
other than this.
Yeah.
and him eating the steak was like the
Right.
perfect meal
So let
to
me
miss.
ask you
Yeah.
this: if you knew what was waiting on the other side, like
Yeah.
if someone told you, yes, this is all a simulation, your life now, and this is what reality looks like, would you still take the red pill?
I would have to go there and experience that for my own self,
Okay.
and then get miserable, and then be like, "Let me back in."
Okay.
But
So
I would have
you
to know.
want to be miserable.
No one could just tell me.
Okay.
Because
So-
for you to be like, yeah, it sucks over there. They're eating porridge every day. You know, they live in a fucking
And not the
cave.
good kind
Yeah.
of porridge.
I would be like, I
Right.
want to go there and I'll decide that for myself if it fucking sucks. Like,
Okay.
yeah, once
Yeah,
you have
one
the
minute-
knowledge.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Jared?
Well,
if
I mean,
you
it's
knew
like-
what was on the other side, would you take the red pill?
Morpheus is like, free your mind, and then also
Right.
here's the bucket that you poop in. I'd be like, I'm out, man. I'm
Yeah.
out. This is not.
That's
There's
a good
no
point.
indoor plumbing. You're living in a cave. Like, I feel like we would all be a Cypher. Like, I just feel like most people that
Yeah.
were freed.
Go back in.
But what I'm saying is, if you knew,
Well, I feel like
if
that's
you knew ahead of time, would
That it
you
was
choose
shitty.
to stay in the simulation?
probably yeah.
Okay.
Like knew ahead of time what it looked like on the outside.
Yeah.
Like in the real
Like
world.
what the
if
real
you knew
world
the real
is.
world was like that.
So many people right now are like clamoring for what the Matrix offers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Already,
Right.
they're already like, this world sucks.
Blissful ignorance.
Right.
I want to be uploaded to the server from San Junipero. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I don't even like this reality. I want an even
Yeah.
better fake reality. Like
But the people in the caves seemed fucking happy. Like, I don't know, they seemed to like it in there.
yeah,
In
vegans.
the second
But the
in
people-
the second movie when it opens, they're having
Oh,
orgies.
it's in Zion?
They love it in the orgies.
Yeah, people at Burning
They're like,
Man.
hell yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, they're like people
Oh.
at Burning Man. It's good for them. I don't want to go there.
Yeah,
Seems
that's
like
true.
hell.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I mean, like
they're
the
happy.
sweaty. No, thanks.
Yeah, it was.
Immediately
They were also all
no.
hot. They were also all super hot, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah, they're
come
super hot because they're all thin because they're all eating fucking porridge all day. There's like nothing to eat. There's no Twinkies.
Yeah.
That
There's
doesn't
no,
make you hot. That makes you like thin.
That makes you thin.
In reality, they would
Yeah,
all look like
that's true.
Holocaust victims or something. You
They
know?
have just like hollowed out cheeks and
Yeah.
like dark circles.
And I just want to go on record, like, sure, I'm sure they have like fleeting moments of happiness, especially in an orgy. Sure, you know,
fleeting moments of happiness.
I'm sure when they're fucking, they're having a great time.
Fleeting
but like,
moments. Of,
yeah.
I would hope that in an
but
orgy you would have more
overall,
than
their
fleeting
lives are, you know, kind of miserable.
So it's just we're all ciphers all the way through.
I
That's what
guess
this whole
so. I don't know.
podcast
I think that I have like a strong sense of like if that's wrong, I have to make it right. Like if
Okay.
that's not the
Right.
truth, then I have to
Well,
see
see-
it. And that would be miserable, but
Yeah.
I would have no
Well,
choice
and
but
also-
to follow that true
And
north.
also, it's the fact that, you know, someone tells you that in reality, you and everyone you know is imprisoned in like a horrible way. Like
Right.
you're slaves.
It's
and
the
I think-
choice.
Right. And I
Right.
think there's something so inherently like that you bristle against that. Like, no, I want to be free. Even if it's kind of horrible.
I mean,
I want
Right.
to be free.
the reality of the Matrix
But I'm
is
not
not.
sure.
I mean, I
if
don't want to
would
get too
follow
political.
that.
I don't want to get too political, but the reality of the Matrix is basically just capitalism. It's like you're just part of a big machine that like feeds.
Literally, you're
Right.
you're
Yeah.
just the battery for
Yeah,
the machine.
that feeds
Yeah.
upward to like the people running things, the entities
Yeah.
running things. It's literally just what it is. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. Where you're saying like you're just trapped in this thing that like feeds off of you
Right.
for like
Yeah.
the powers that be, and it's like, yeah, that's what we all do all the time.
Right.
That's what we're spending hours a day doing.
But like the Matrix does get progressively worse because they address that in the new movie.
What do they say?
Well, he talks about how the most perfect version of the Matrix that they've found is to make people like pretty
Miserable.
fucking miserable.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, more controlled.
Like
Oh,
more
yeah.
I don't know, I can't remember how he words it, but basically like more yearning of like keeping their happiness away from them,
Right.
more miserable, whatever. And then that they produce the most
So
power
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the machine world.
Trying
brings us
to
to the
get
new
to
one.
that happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the talking about choice, the thing that I liked about the end of the third one, the original trilogy, that I think bothered a lot of people, is that it didn't end with like a smashing of the machines. It ended with like a truce between the humans
Right.
and machines, and giving the people in the Matrix a choice to be freed, rather than just being this like triumphant exploding of all the
Right.
robots or whatever.
Mhm.
And I kind of like that. I like that idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like a lot of people railed against that. 'Cause it was
Mhm.
Can you imagine if they freed all those people like all
That
at the
would be,
same
like,
time? That would be a
nightmarish.
logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
They couldn't handle debriefing all those people like in a timely manner.
Yeah, it would be
People
like-
would be losing their goddamn minds.
it would basically
They'd
be like
and
if-
killing themselves.
it would basically
That
be
didn't
like if-
happen
It would.
right
in the
yeah.
world. Like in
Yeah.
their world, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that would basically be like if we like. That's one of the reasons that we don't do things like going after like the government in North Korea, because if North Korea were to like
Right.
collapse, we would have like a massive humanitarian crisis on our hands, and it's like
Right.
we can't handle every refugee
Right.
from North Korea, so
Yeah.
like it'd be the same thing. You can't free everyone from the Matrix, because then
Yeah.
that underground city would be flooded with millions of people and with
Yeah.
limited resources and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, they had to find a weird middle ground, and I thought that was like a clever overarching
Yeah.
thing where it's like, okay, they took this wild card element of Agent Smith and made him a mutual enemy of the people and the machines.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And therefore they were able to come to a truce because they both wanted to destroy
Yeah.
the same
And
thing.
I thought that was like a very believable kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because had they gone the route of like, okay, we've destroyed all the machines, we've taken the Earth back. It's like, okay, but the Earth
now
is
what?
still
It's
this
like scorched sky
scorched.
and shit.
Yeah, it's like it's uninhabitable, so you're
Yeah.
still kind of screwed.
Yeah.
I thought this was a good. Yeah,
I didn't like
it was
it
like
then.
a realistic.
I didn't like
Way.
it then. I didn't like that ending then.
I like the movies
But
now.
I think
It was a realistic.
yeah.
resolution.
Now
Yeah.
I appreciate how smart that resolution was, especially when you consider that they
Yeah.
put a main character who was unhappy to be released
Mhm.
and wanted to go back. So like the
Mhm.
idea of giving the choice and whatever, and it
Right.
was a truce and all that.
Yeah.
That was a good ending. It was definitely well
I
written.
feel like I'm a little less harsh on the sequels now than I was then, because
Mhm.
the time I was a teenager and
Yeah.
like I just like, okay, at the time I saw them, I had like hype brain and was like, that was cool, and then like 6 months later I'd be like, it wasn't that good, or watched it again on DVD, and then I spent like 10 years thinking, yeah, The Matrix is good and the sequels are bad, whatever. A lot of movies are like that.
Right.
And then in the last 5 years or so I've revisited them, and I'm like, these are interesting movies very flawed, but like they're trying for something, especially when you watch like a lot of movie sequels now where it's like, okay, same thing but bigger, make money machine. Like those,
they tried to tell a story.
They were like trying. I mean, a lot of
effort you can appreciate.
Like I recently heard the Matrix sequels described as like two people trying to find something great up their own ass, and I feel like that's not entirely wrong. Like they were trying for something, and it got a little too like. There's way too many like weird.
It got away from them.
There's way too many like weird circular arguments where like or conversations where people are like asking someone a question, and they'll be like, "Well, what does that mean to you?" And then it's like back and forth, and you're like, "Oh, it's just somebody karate fight already," because you guys are just getting a little too off base with this. And so that brings us to the new movie, and here's what I'll say about this movie that I just watched like a couple hours ago. I really liked it, and I think it's the second best movie in the series.
Yeah, so same. I agree.
What about you? After binging, I was like, I never want to hear the Matrix.
Binging might be a bad idea for your audience or whatever who might be considering.
Yeah, don't binge
this. Binging is a really bad idea. The movies are long. It's not Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, they're long and they are humorless. They're very serious and they're very like. They just sort of trudge along.
I would say humorless.
No.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
I would say there's a lot of moments that are quite funny.
Here's my opinion of
there were a couple in the last one.
In the first one, there's so many moments like when Mouse like introduces him to the lady in red, whatever.
The first one is not humorless.
All their conversations like at the table or amongst each other, like there's a lot of.
The first one is not humorless. The second and third movies get pretty humorous.
Yeah, the second and third ones get kind of desolate.
The most recent one I thought
had
a great tone.
Yeah, I have nothing against the first one.
Not binge worthy. Not binge watch worthy.
Yeah, don't watch them all back to back.
Yeah.
But the fourth one I thought was good. I thought it was interesting how they did like where you don't know, for a good part of it it's like
it felt light.
He's trying to make sense of like what's real and what's not real and all this stuff.
It felt like a little bit. It felt like an interesting like side story, or like it wasn't. The world wasn't at stake. It was literally just this guy trying to figure out what is happening, whether or not it's real,
right?
And whether or not he's like schizophrenic. I mean, I thought the beginning of the movie, I was like, are they going to try to make it such that the first three movies were a video game and not like something that really happened?
Yeah.
And they ended up not doing that. They ended up, and I thought that was like a clever thing because they were like, oh, when they inserted him back in the Matrix, they were like. Their way of dealing with his memories of all this stuff is like, oh, it's just his idea for creating a video game. That's like how they played it, which is a really smart. I thought that was like a really smart way of like bringing it back.
I really liked it a lot. I would say I liked that they kind of like called it out, like within like the video game like employees who work there, and like when they were having their roundtable discussions of like how do we do this next one.
It was
it was very like meta, but I thought. Yeah. At first I was like, why are they doing this? And then I thought you almost have to. Like when you come back to something that's been so huge for so long after so many fucking years, I appreciated that they like were like, yeah, we know you're all here and blah blah.
Right.
Like,
you have to like address
the elephant in the room. And so I thought that was funny, I thought it was light, and it made sense in the context in which they put it. So
Neil Patrick Harris. Mwah.
You thought he was great?
I thought he was great.
I didn't care for him.
I thought he was great.
I think he's
Jonathan Groff. I love that.
I thought Neil Patrick Harris was good in certain scenes.
In certain scenes, like
the scene where he was explaining what was happening with the bullet time. I thought that was kind of cool. But like, also he's like a loaded casting choice in general.
Yes, that's why I didn't like him.
He just has a lot of like.
He's too famous.
He's too famous.
He's too famous for that
role.
In
a Matrix movie, you kind of need like someone who's like Jonathan Groff is perfect because I never remember what that guy even looks like.
Yeah, you're like the guy from Hamilton. Whatever.
I love that guy. He does a really evil face.
But he's not. He does a really great evil face. But he's not like when you watch Neil Patrick Harris. The whole time you're like, well, that's Neil Patrick Harris.
Right, yeah. That's
you can't take yourself. Right. It's like when you watch like Leonardo DiCaprio, you're just like, oh wow, Leonardo DiCaprio grew a beard for this.
There's like too much attached to that.
Yeah, but I do think
like
he acted it really well.
He does a good job. Yeah. They just should have put someone less famous.
Absolutely.
In that role. I think.
Also, I think it would have been great if they would have cast a woman in that role. It would have been so unexpected.
Yeah,
you would have believed longer and harder that was actually his therapist and had good pure intentions. Because like the second I saw Neil Patrick Harris and he was doing his thing, I was like, oh well, he's a bad guy.
Wearing his sinister blue glasses.
But it would have been how cool would that reveal have been if you really thought like this person is a therapist for him, there to guide him and like really thinks they're helping him, whatever.
Yeah.
I thought a woman would have been great because it would have been unassuming.
That's true.
Who do you think would have been a good casting?
That's a great question. I have not thought about that.
Who's a really good like?
It would have to be someone that the name wouldn't come to us right away.
Aya Cash.
Which one is that? Oh,
Gretchen. From You're the Worst.
I haven't watched that. Yeah,
it's a fantastic show. She played. Did you watch The Boys?
No.
Oh, okay. You know who would be good in that role? Florence Pugh. I feel like she's great.
She's too famous now. She's too famous now too.
Yeah, she is. But she's like almost too famous. I kind of like she would have been good.
I kind of like the fact that nobody in the new the new Nebuchadnezzar, I forget what it was called. It was
some
other
whatever it's called.
word.
I don't know either.
They showed it written out.
It's something biblical too.
Yeah, they showed it written out on like a placard before they even said it, and I was like, I don't know how to pronounce that shit. I'm glad that everyone in that ship was like an actor I'd never seen before. I kind of like that.
Loved that. Oh my god, can we talk about how good Bugs is?
Yeah.
Or was?
Yeah.
I thought she fucking carried this movie. She crushed it.
Yeah,
she did such a fucking great job. I really appreciated her. Some of the other like cast on this ship, I felt like there was too many of them. They could have narrowed that down to like 3 people and then given each of those 3 people like a little bit more.
Yeah.
I like
the one guy was good with like the whitish hair. I really liked him.
The one I said looked like Charlie Day a little bit. Is that
maybe?
Is that who you're talking
and he had like a face that I was like, I know I've seen him in something else.
Yeah,
and also thought he was good, but I couldn't pinpoint it, which is a good cast for a movie like this.
Yeah, the girl with the black hair who had like the wild, weird braids in it when she was in The Matrix. I knew I'd seen her from somewhere else, but she had like a good face. They all had an interesting look.
Right.
Although I love like I feel like this one kind of deliberately was like, yes, this shit is kind of silly, but we're kind of just like having fun with it a little bit. It was more lighthearted. Like the world in The Matrix and even in like real life was like more colorful, more like sun soaked a little bit. Like
I didn't like. I don't know.
No?
I especially when it came to Morpheus, and I also didn't like that they recast Morpheus. I mean, I understand it's not actually Morpheus, whatever. I didn't like that they recast him.
But I do love that actor, though.
I like that actor. That actor is talented, obviously. But it's weird to be like, here is a bald black guy who is, when we're calling him Morpheus, but it's not actually Morpheus. I think if they did they even need that character though? Did they need that character? Because wasn't Bugs doing a fabulous job? She came in, she had her crew. Did they really need that character?
It kind of felt like
it was forced.
No. Yeah, it kind of felt like I mean, they did a great job at the beginning of sort of calling their shot where they were like, Warner Brothers is going to make this whether we're.
I loved that. That was really funny.
That was a fantastic, like, this is why we're here.
Right.
And I would almost guarantee you that it was like, we got to have Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus.
Okay. So maybe
like,
they
that's
were like
the poster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then you, like,
But then you get Lawrence Fishburne.
But you're not actually, right, you're not actually having Morpheus.
Yeah.
I
maybe
feel
Lawrence
the same
Fishburne
way
is expensive. I don't know. Like, you know.
Well, can't be that expensive.
Can't be, actually, he can't be much more expensive than this guy, because this guy was in the Watchmen show. He's like blowing up.
Lawrence Fishburne is like, he's doing TV now. He's like on Blackish, which is a popular
You can get a deal on Lawrence Fishburne now.
Did he do a CSI or something like that? Anyway,
yeah. So anyway, Lawrence Fishburne is not priced out of that market.
I mean, nothing against Lawrence Fishburne. I think he's great.
Yeah, no, he's wonderful. And I think it would have been cool to bring him back in the role, but not make him be this half-bought thing, whatever. But if they felt compelled to make the character be that...
It should have been a whole new thing.
It should have been a whole new thing. And I'm going to say again what I said about the therapist. If they had made that character be not even just a woman, but just so like out of left field that whatever the opposite is. A tiny Asian girl then maybe is like the opposite of what Morpheus has been or something. You know what I mean? Like... A little Hispanic girl with braids.
I thought you were talking about the therapist, and I was like...
No, because I said the therapist, what if it was a woman?
Yeah.
Right. But like, so like, what if you just, like, even what if it was like a child actor or something? Yeah. Like a really precocious child.
Oh, that would have annoyed the shit out of me.
You would have
just
hated
like,
that.
oh, good, they added a child to this. Fantastic. Like there was at the beginning, there was that one character who might as well have been wearing a T-shirt that said "We couldn't afford Jonah Hill," that was working with Neo, who was like, "I'm such a big fan of The Matrix, and I loved it when I was a kid, and now we're working together, and I can't wait." And I was like, "Oh, please tell me this guy is a good character."
Yeah.
And then he mostly disappeared after the first act, and I was like, "Thank fucking God."
Right.
Because he was really annoying. Like I think they did a
He
good
was
job.
supposed to be, though.
Yeah.
He did his job really well.
Well, there's some characters that are supposed to be
supposed to
annoying, and I mean, not to call back to Ghostbusters, but like those people stuck around for the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like this little kid's reporting a podcast. Cool. Can he go away now, please?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that they played like a lot of really fun lip service to the, like, I don't know, the cultural impact of the Matrix at the beginning, and then they were like, okay, but now we're going on to do an actual Matrix movie now.
Yeah.
They sort of had to punt it a little bit.
That kind of disconnect did feel weird. When they were doing like the montage of we're in this room, we're a stream of consciousness ideas, and we're doing this, and then it was like, actually, we're making the Matrix over here.
Yeah.
It was just like a strange.
It kind of felt like Lana Wachowski being like,
we have to talk about this.
Yeah, kind of giving like a little bit of like a, we had to. It was almost like showing the movie's writer room a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. I don't know. I thought it was like, there's been so many movies lately that are about like trying to play on the nostalgia of things, like reboots of things. There was like Ghostbusters Afterlife. There was like the new Halloween movie that's like all callbacks to like the first movie. There's just like a lot of, I feel like, legacy sequels coming out. Like next week we have a new Scream movie, and it's just called Scream, and I don't really
another one.
Yeah, and the trailer looks exactly like the first movie, except now she's got like the character who gets killed in the first scene has like smart locks on her doors and shit. Like it's weird. They're doing a lot of like trying to create a legacy sequel and capitalize on nostalgia, and I feel like this movie at least addressed why that happens or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't like the addressing it. I loved the addressing it. It was that they did it in this like corny way. Like I thought the montage was a little corny. I get it. It was funny. I like that they called it out. I wish that it just felt like, I felt like I was watching a different movie.
It felt stylistically very different from other Matrix movies. But I kind of liked that about it because I was like, they're doing something different. They're trying something different.
Here's a question.
Whether it works or not, it's not always, doesn't always work.
Yeah, I did like the attempt and I thought it was funny. It was really funny.
Yeah, I liked that it was funny. I liked that this movie was funny and like tried for actual jokes. And a lot of the conversations were very straightforward. There wasn't a whole lot of weird philosophical like doublespeak and circular conversations in this one, which I feel like was a big downfall of the second and third movies, where you're just like, stop. Like, watched the third movie earlier today, and Trinity's death scene in that movie is so long. It's like it's like a bit that she keeps being like, and then also, and I'm like, oh,
right.
You've got rebar through your heart. You should not still be talking.
You should be in shock and passed out.
Yeah, like she just keeps talking in that scene, and I'm like, oh my god, please just have your last breath. It's so weird.
Yeah. And I was not like really emotionally touched by that scene at all.
No.
I was just
this
like,
is the first.
She's dying.
This new movie.
She's sad.
I feel like this is the first movie that showed like the actual chemistry that these two actors are capable of. Aside from the very first movie.
Yeah.
The second, third movie, there's constantly people talking about like, well, these two are in love. It's very clear, and it's like, no, it's not. They look like statues. They look like chess pieces.
Yeah.
Like Monica Bellucci, that's all she talks about in the second movie is how much they're clearly in love with each other. And I'm like, they're just standing there. They're wearing sunglasses. I don't know how you can say that it's very clear that they're in love with each other.
Yeah.
But in this
they're
movie,
just two hot people.
Yeah, and this movie,
that's it. They're just simply two hot people.
Yeah, standing next to each other. And in this movie, there was a lot. I feel like there was like a lot of palpable chemistry. And Keanu Reeves has clearly grown as an actor a lot in the last 20 years.
Right? Absolutely.
Like going from the third movie to this movie in a row, you're just like, oh man, this dude has like put in the work.
He's acting.
Yeah. And there's like, he has a lot of great like weird little moments in this where he's like reacting to stuff in a way that's just like, what's happening?
Right.
In a way where the first movie, he was just like,
well, that's why that was like it was a great movie for him. Because all he had to do was just like be stoic and cool and say 3 words every other scene. Like you know what I mean? He didn't really have to give that a lot except like be the hot guy and
Yeah, and in this one he was like a disaffected middle-aged man, which was like he's surprisingly good at playing that. Like, him sitting in the tub with his little rubber ducky on his head.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job with that.
Yeah.
In the mirror scenes and stuff, I'm like, okay, he's really putting the effort in.
Although when they reveal, like, after he's had a couple of like kind of flirty conversations with Trinity, or Tiffany was her name in this movie, they do the reveal of what he really looks like. Just was thinking, like, flashing back to what those scenes would have looked like in reality, and been like, she wouldn't have given him like the time of day, looking like like that. He's like a chubby little like bald dude with long gray hair. Like, he looks
they made him like a lot
homeless.
older too, right?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be 60 years in the future, which I thought was an interesting choice. And I honestly thought that Jada Pinkett Smith did a good job in this movie. Like, she really did. And it's always like very touchy, or a very hit or miss when you take a young person and put them in old makeup and just kind of go from there. And she actually did a good job of like acting through it, and the makeup was good, and like her old lady voice was like believable. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're doing a whole lot here with like scratching up your voice and it sounds terrible.
I'm really
she did a good job with it.
They didn't just like try to CGI her face to make her look older.
They didn't do that with anybody, which I really appreciated. Like at the end, spoiler alert, the entire, what do you call it? The stakes of this movie are relatively low. They just want to get Trinity out of the Matrix. He just believes that she's really unhappy and wants to get her out. They're not trying to save the world or anything like that, which I like.
But the stakes feel high because you're invested in
it. Yeah, because they actually did a good job.
Because you give a shit about them.
Right.
Right.
Because of like, they play on the nostalgia of the previous movies a little bit, but they also do a lot. Like, they did a good job of having like a lot of like a handful of scenes between the two of them where they're just drinking coffee and talking.
And that was great.
And I'm like, boy, the other movies really could have used something like this. Them being on like dates and actually like connecting with each other and stuff.
They relied too much on like the cool factor.
Yeah, there was way too much like bonding through
and
kicking the same guy's ass.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And not just having conversations. This is the first movie they did that in.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when they are both like unplugged for like the last time, and they both look terrible because their heads are shaved, and they don't look like they're wearing makeup or anything, and they just look like two like middle-aged people. I thought that was interesting because like they didn't do anything to try to like soften their features. They literally looked like they held them down, took all their makeup off and shaved their heads. And I was like, this is interesting because these are two like middle-aged actors who the movie is allowing to be that. So and at that point you care about. I got emotional about the fact that they finally like unplugged her and she was like able to get out of there. And I thought the fact that it was like kind of a heist movie where they hit like,
and I liked that a lot.
That was really where they were like cutting back and forth between like the plan being carried out and them planning it. It was like Ocean's 11, but they were stealing her body out of the Matrix.
Who's that actress? Priyanka Chopra? Yeah. I thought she was really well cast as a grown-up version of
Sati.
Sati.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in this movie is very pretty, so that helps a lot.
That helps a lot. But I like that they brought the character.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping they would do that. They showed a flash of that character in like one of the trailers, and I was like, ooh, I hope that's the little girl all grown up. So I was like really happy.
And for some reason, I didn't connect that. Because I saw her in the preview, and I thought she was going to be one of the characters like from the real world who was coming back in, whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought she was. And even like watching the movie, they do like that flash in the montage. They flash her weird.
In. They showed her in the montage,
too long, and you're like, oh, she's somebody. But like, who is she?
That was weird. That's where they introduced her in the movie, and you're like, was this person important?
Yeah, but then like later you get that. Oh, she was keeping an eye on him the whole time, whatever. But when they kept flashing back to her, even at that point when they showed her, I still thought that she was from the real world in some way. I did not, for some reason, connect that she was Sati.
Yeah.
And then when they revealed that, I'm like,
that was just.
I was like, that's fucking cool.
I was just like, I guess that was my inherent racism. Because I was like, there's an Indian girl in this movie, and there's an Indian girl in the last movie. They have to be the same.
It's gotta be the same one.
Same person.
Like, one of the also in the last movie, I had watched all three Matrix movies like a few months ago, I think when they were like ramping up the trailers for this one. And she's one of the last characters you see in the third movie, and she says like, I hope I get to meet Neo again. So and the Oracle tells him, probably will. You never know. So I was assuming like, oh well, they're gonna bring her back then. Yeah, because that's like the last beat of the last movie.
They do something in the previous movie. I don't remember which one it is, where they talk about her in the third one, because she's only in the third one.
She's only in the third.
Yeah, so it's in the third one then, where they say she's really important for some reason, right?
Because she's
or did I make that up?
They basically, she's just the child of 2 programs who were not supposed to have children.
Oh,
which they never explain how that works at all. They created...
They don't explain a lot.
These 2 programs fell in love with each other and had a child, and you're kind of just like, I don't know how the fuck that works, but whatever.
The birds and the bees and the gigabytes.
Yeah. Jesus.
You have to suspend your belief for a lot for movies in general, but especially for this movie.
Actually, there's a lot of things that didn't become clear to me about these movies until this most recent watch.
Yeah.
Because so much of it, well, honestly, so much of the conversations in the second and third movies are so like circular and annoying that I've like tuned them out, or I'm like, that's just nonsense. I'm just gonna let it roll off my brain.
And then it revealed itself.
Yeah, but then I pay a little more attention this time. I think because Jan and I were watching it specifically for the lead up to the 4th one and to talk about it here. And everything that the architect said snapped a little more into place, where he was like, the Matrix isn't perfect, and it's almost like Neo is basically the one is basically like leap year. There's an imperfection in how we conduct time, so we have to push all of it into a single day to correct the calendar. And so the Matrix is imperfect in such a way that we have to take all the flaws and all the irregularities and push them into this one person who can control the Matrix to his will, and then we have to do as much to manipulate him as possible to walk this path so that he doesn't fuck everything up
destroy
for
us. Yeah.
So they put the Oracle in place to guide him to to sort of mislead him a little bit or something like that. So I didn't really pick up on that the first time I saw it, because
a lot of that was like, I'm fucking brilliant. I'm gonna write this speech that no one's gonna understand, and it's like, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a little up its own butt.
We get it. You're really fucking smart, and you have a lot of big words.
Wachowskis,
yeah.
I mean and so I kind of appreciate it a little bit more moving forward, but in the new one there was a lot less of that, which I very much appreciated. It was a lot more straightforward. Here's the plot. Here's the plan that we're going to get to. There's not a lot of philosophical conversations, which I appreciated. They were just like, this is like a one-off caper that we're doing.
So I thought the conversations were a lot better. The dialogue was a lot better. Yes. What I thought was extremely lacking were the fight scenes, and that was
they weren't as good.
The single most disappointing thing for me. I also thought, I don't know, in watching the first one, there's maybe it's the bullet time thing, or maybe it's just the way that it's shot. There's a clarity of what's happening in these fight scenes, whereas the train scene was such a clusterfuck. Shaky cam everywhere, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? I couldn't focus on any one fight. Yeah, this was I didn't like it. That's what I thought this time too. I was like, oh, the fights in this aren't as good, but I'm kind of enjoying the whole ride in general more. So it kind of made it fine for me. That's kind of how I am with a lot of movies now, where there's a lot of Marvel movies where I kind of don't care about the action sequences, but I'm interested in the characters or whatever. I mean, they're not great movies in general, but a lot of the times the fight scenes or the action scenes are the most boring scene because they don't do enough to make it interesting. And that was kind of the case here. I was like, okay, they didn't explain this to me. They didn't explain this in a way that it made sense to me. The people that were going bot mode, were those
swarm mode?
Yeah, were those blue pill people or were those programs?
No, so I think that those were plants that they put in to be able to deploy.
So all those people at the end were plants?
So jumping out the window?
Yeah.
I think that those are people that they put in so they can, I don't know. That was my guess.
I thought they were human beings that are in the Matrix.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I thought that they had changed it such that instead of turning into agents like they did in the first 3 movies, they just looked like they usually do, so that they were harder to spot when they would attack you or whatever.
Maybe. Who knows?
It was kind of hard to tell.
That was unclear.
Because Neil Patrick Harris kept also referring to handlers that were in the system, programs to keep control of people.
Yeah.
And
the annoying guy you didn't like.
Yeah, he was a handler. One of the guys at Trinity's workshop was a handler.
Right.
It was unclear whether
Which
or not...
I think makes so much sense. I feel like they would have that in the Matrix to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was supposed to be a more refined version of it.
That's what I thought those people were. Plants to be able to
I thought that was
too,
until it seemed like every human being was attacking them in
everyone
the final
Earth.
sequence. And I was
so maybe it's that they can tap into people when they want.
Yeah, because I was like, those all can be programs. Where are the real people at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although there was the one scene
They're
where
all on vacation.
The wife was horrified.
The husband just leapt out the window. That part was awesome, where all the people were falling out
That
of
was
buildings.
Awesome.
And kind of horrifying. Although I
that
kind
was
of
really cool.
that they would turn into pixels when they hit the ground.
That would have been cool.
Because otherwise, well, they did. They were like,
did they?
Weird little green.
I didn't notice
There was
that.
like weird little flashes of green when they hit the
there
ground.
was like,
And I was like,
they like turned into the code.
yeah, and
See,
I thought
that's
that was.
maybe I saw that, and that's what made me think of the bots. Although I'm not like recalling
makes
it
sense.
now, but
Well,
there was something that I was like, oh, they're like not real people, but I
Yeah.
don't know why I thought that. In the
Well,
in the moment
you're
of
just
in
a
the
sociopath
theater.
and you don't think that about anybody.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Nobody's real. You're not real. Nobody here is real. But I thought that they never really explained about like why programs fall in love or have kids or whatever. My assumption after like hearing that on the third one is that okay, so because they have to make these programs human-like, so they can walk around in the Matrix, they are subject to occasionally like the flaws of being human. And to them, a flaw is like emotional connection to people. So sometimes they fall in love with each other. Or whatever.
And then that's
That was
their
like, that was how I took it. Is like, okay, that's why programs sometimes fall in love and have cute little kids, cute little precocious children. But like, that was like, there's a lot of buy-ins you have to do for all these movies. Like, I made this point to a friend where he pointed out something online. I forget what it was. It was something that happened in the trailer before this movie came out, and I was like. One of the things that's awesome, and also for some people probably infuriating about the Matrix movies, is that even with humanity at stake, it is characters constantly choosing to do something stylishly over practically. Like if you watch the famous like lobby shootout sequence in the first movie, they're doing like all kinds of flips and all kinds of cartwheels and all kinds of unnecessary bullshit when they're trying to like save their friend's life. Like they should have just gone in there shooting at people and not like just doing flips around the walls and backflips. And,
Yeah, but they
like,
do that in movies all the time.
I know.
No, but you have to believe that in that world, that is the best choice
the way to do it.
of fighting. That's how they do it. It just so happens to look cool as fuck, and it's the best way.
It's a stylization choice, and you kind of have to buy into that because otherwise, it gets more and more ridiculous as you watch it. Like, as in the second movie, they keep having like hand-to-hand combat scenes. You're like, why is this being settled with hand-to-hand combat? It doesn't make any sense. The third movie ends with him and Agent Smith just punching each other in midair, and you're like, this is what determines the fate of the universe. Yeah, it gets a little tiring. I remember there was a game adaptation called The Path of Neo that came out a few years after the third movie, and they decided to change the way that that conflict ended because they were like, this will be cooler, this will be more visually interesting for a video game. So they had all of the agents like pile up a big like pile of, they basically like all combined into like one big dude.
Oh, okay.
So and like
that was like the big boss
cobbled together like weird pieces of like a building so that it looked like a big like monster that looked like a giant Agent Smith. And then it like the most ridiculous thing. This absolutely would have been a live action movie if they'd done it this way. He reaches over and he plucks sunglasses off of like a billboard and puts it on.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Neo has to fight this giant Agent Smith.
God. Imagine being the guy like who comes up with that idea.
Yeah.
You're just delighted. You're like, that's so cool.
And that's exactly like what the Matrix is.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to get into that. You kind of have to buy that because you're like, these movies are silly and kind of, and I think the new one does a good job of kind of making fun of that a little bit, but also being like, this is just what these movies are. Like she gives Morpheus like a pair of sunglasses and he's like, these are nice sunglasses. Like he talks about the sunglasses,
right.
And they never even like mention the word sunglasses in any of the Matrix movies up to this point.
Right.
So like they talk about that, or like he's like, you know, the first Morpheus was like, you know, lightning and thunder crashing, and here I am walking out of a bathroom stall. It's ridiculous. Like they make comments about how like it's not going to be as cool as the original. Like nothing's going to top that. Like they make a conscious choice to address that, which I thought was cool. I mean, overall, I thought it was really an entertaining movie. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was really entertaining. I liked it a lot too, but I wanted more from the fight scenes.
Yeah.
I think that left a lot to be desired, but I think like when you think of the Matrix movies,
you think of fight sequences.
Yeah, like and you think of cool ones that have something unique. And there was like none of that. It's not even I felt like there wasn't even a fucking attempt for that.
Yeah, I think about halfway through the second fight scene, I was like, maybe the other Wachowski was the fight one.
I said that.
Really?
I said that to Jason when I got
only
home.
one of them came back for this.
I said one was dialogue and one was fight scenes, and we know which one we got.
Yeah.
We got the dialogue one. And they went for it wholeheartedly with the dialogue, and it was greatly improved in the character development.
They also had like some co-writers, which I feel like was very much needed. I was like, if you had some other writers come in on the second and third movies, they might have been a little better.
Yeah.
I feel like if it had flipped around and it was like, okay, the dialogue in this movie is atrocious, but the fight scenes are impeccable, I would have liked it a lot less. Because there's less to salvage there. You're like, because that's the case with some of the sequels. Like the second,
I mean, the dialogue is what drives
the chase
the plot.
sequence is really cool on the freeway, but it's like a lot of the dialogue just makes me want to like.
No,
take a
you're
nap.
definitely right about that. Yeah,
Like
it was definitely witty and it was smart and
but there was a lot
well thought out.
Yeah,
but you're right. The fight sequences didn't really have any kind of like gimmick or like the
there was nothing cool about
the
it.
second movie had like there's him versus some agents at the beginning just to like kick you off.
Yeah.
And it's him versus 100 agents. Looks wonky, but whatever. It's like that's the fight.
Right.
And then was it the highway? No, it was him in that chateau, and now they have like hand-to-hand combat weapons. They're like Ninja Turtles basically. And then now here's like a highway. They all had like a different gimmick or a different thing.
There was something.
And they vary in quality, but they were pretty cool and had different reasons for being. But like in this one,
like
it
the
was like
stage
they're fighting
that
on a
was
train.
set for it. I was like, okay, they're just in a warehouse basement. Like,
Yeah,
this
that
is the best.
like, come on.
This is the best we could come up with for this.
Yeah, and Jonathan Groff was like, "Here we are again," and I'm like, "Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
We got it. You're here again. You're fighting again."
I know. It just
Jesus,
didn't.
dude.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like they thought the fight scenes out well enough to make them like they were just like they said let's make it action packed, but not like let's flesh this out and see what can we do to make this be like a really unique fight scene. And then the Frenchman randomly coming back and yelling unintelligible nonsense from the corner.
Because
I was like, is he speaking French or is he
he
just like
was speaking French for a lot of
Oh,
it.
okay. Because I was like, this is just unintelligible, but he was actually speaking a different language.
I need to go.
Oh, you have to go.
Yeah, it's time to get Adrian.
Oh,
okay. Sorry, guys.
We're gonna call a wrap on this.
I gotta
one.
go.
Yeah.
No, you guys can keep talking about it.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we said all we needed to say.
All right.
I mean, I think we're going for
Sorry.
like half 40 minutes. I mean, we went over an hour for Nightmare Alley. And that was like a little too. I think it was a little too long for a YouTube video.
Well, anyway,
Especially when you got this face.
You would give it. What's your final review? How many stars do you give it? Out of what is it? 5 stars? What do we do grade on?
Yeah.
We usually do like a letter grade. Oh, you do a letter grade. Yeah.
I would say this was like a B+. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even an A-. I'm not sure. I was very stoked on it when it ended. I thought it ended very strongly. So I might have to reevaluate a little bit to be a little more harsh. Because I'm a sucker for a movie that ends on a strong note. And so when Neo and Trinity are like just basically like flipping off the dude and like flying away, like holding hands, I was like, fuck yeah. That was cool. But like there's flaws in it. There's like more flaws. But like out of the gate, I was like, that movie kicked ass. Like A-.
Yeah.
Like
I say like solid B.
Yeah.
Solid B.
That's fair.
And Yana's like D+.
C+ for me. C+. Yeah, C+.
I
don't know.
Grade all the Matrix movies.
Huh?
What about all the rest of
Yeah,
them?
grade the rest.
Huh.
What's the first one?
No
the
pressure,
First one,
but you have to
I
leave
would
soon.
say A-.
Oh, nice.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
for the first one. I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
2 and 3, C. Maybe D+.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know.
That's fair. I think those are both very fair.
And for the fourth one, it might be better like if I watch it and I'm a little more into
and you don't have
and I'm not
stomach
falling
full of
asleep
Matrix.
Without marathoning it.
Yeah, my assessment might be a little bit more forgiving.
You're like, you're making me review this piece of pie after I've eaten like an entire cake.
Yeah.
Like Bruce Bogtrotter. Like,
yeah.
Like,
so for right now, I would say C.
Yeah. I think
but there were
a very strong attempt to do the fucking impossible.
Yeah.
How do you revisit that franchise?
Right. There were
You've
definitely
already said a lot.
things that I liked.
They tried to do a lot more with it than say like the new Star Wars movie or whatever. Like they tried to like.
Oh god. Yeah.
You don't like the new Star Wars movie?
Mm.
We'll get into that.
Well, yeah, that was gonna say we don't have enough time for
that.
all
Is a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
So we're gonna call a wrap on this one.
All
right. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit us up. The dog's telling us we're done with for sure.
She's over it.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or want to review us, hit up your podcast app of choice. And we are joined at the unhip@gmail.com, and we are on Twitter at unhippod.
That's something.
Yep, something or other. I forget every time. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe if more people communicated to us on those.
Hint, you guys.
But thank you,
And
Mel, for
yeah,
coming over.
thanks for having me. It was really fun.
And we would like to have you back and also other guests. I know our mutual friend Hannah also wants to come on to talk to Yana about books and stuff. So
cool.
I might have to just be behind the camera for that one because I don't read enough books. But
cool.
Anyway, you guys have yourselves a good week.
Bye-bye.
And we're wrapped.